Okay, so this video will be for solving two-step equation word problems. So one of the things that you should remember from when we did word problems is that we always want to start with writing our let statement, which will define our variable based on what we know absolutely nothing about. All right, so let's carefully read through our first question. So Rosaria rents a car for the day. The charge is $20 plus 50 cents per mile. Rosaria wants to spend exactly $40. And we want to know, so this is our question here, how many miles can Rosaria drive? So what do we know nothing about? Our total unknown here is how many miles Rosaria can drive. So I'm going to say let x equal the number of miles, because that's what I know nothing about. Okay, so now let's go back to our question. Now we remembered that when we are doing these word problems, we are going to look for something that's going to be in that form ax plus b equals c. So Rosaria rents a car for the day. The charge is $20 plus, so there's our plus information here, 50 cents per mile. So now we said x was the number of miles, and then we see this 50 cents per mile. So those two things we should see naturally are going to go together. So I'm going to put the 50 cents per x miles, right? And I can put the 0, 0.5, or I can just put it as 0.50 or 0.5. So I'm going to put those two together because we're talking about the unit rate of 50 cents per mile, and then x is our number of miles. So we see that those two naturally go together. Now, our other expenses is that we're paying a charge of $20. So just to rent the car, regardless of how many miles, there's also going to be a charge of $20. So this is what she's spending. So the 0.50x is how much she's spending on the miles, and the 20 is our initial charge. And she wants to spend exactly or total $40. So we're going to set this equal to $40. All right, so once we've set up our equation, we're now ready to solve for x, which is our unknown number of miles. So solving for this, very similar to what we just did with our two-step equations. First, we have the 0.50 being multiplied by x, and then we're adding 20. So to undo and isolate the x, we're going to work backwards by subtracting 20 first. So that's going to cancel out, positive 20 minus 20, leaving us with the 0.50x, 40 minus 20, giving us 20. All right, so in our next step, in order to undo that multiplication here, we're going to divide both sides by the 0.50. And so that will cancel out, leaving us with just x all by itself. 20 divided by 0.50 is going to give us 40, and we're talking about what? X is the number of miles, 40 miles. Now we can check our answer very similar to what we've done before, where we would rewrite the equation, substitute, and simplify. Now the trick here is that when we're checking these equations, it's really relying on the fact that we've written the correct equation. So you just want to be very careful. If you did not write the correct initial equation, your check might give you a false sense of security that you have the right answer, but it might be the right answer for the wrong equation. So checking with word problems can be a little bit trickier, but it's the same process. All right, so let's look at our next example. All right, so we have that Tareem opens a savings account with $100. Each week after, Tareem deposits $10. So he's going to start the savings account with $100, and then each week, so we're seeing those unit rate phrases that each or per, he's going to deposit $10. Tareem wants to buy a new phone that costs $200, so that's his goal. And we want to know, in how many weeks will Tareem have saved up enough money to buy it? So that is our unknown. So what do we know nothing about? We know nothing about the number of weeks. So that's going to be my variable. So I'm going to say let x equal the number of weeks. So now again, I'm going to look back to see what also had to do with weeks. And I'm going to see that each week he deposits $10. So to write my equation, I can start with 10x. So it's that $10 per week, or $10 each week. So I know x is my number of weeks. I know that 10 goes with the weeks. So that's going to help me to set up my equation. Now he also starts with $100, so we're going to add on the $100. So this is all the money that he'll have in his account, the $100 plus the $10 each week. And he wants to have this goal of buying a $200 phone. Okay, so once we've set this up, we're ready to solve. We have 10 times x, then plus 100. So working backwards, I'm going to subtract the 100 from both sides. 10x giving us 200 minus 100, giving us 100. All right, again, we are held together with multiplication, so we can undo that with division. And 100 divided by 10, giving us 10. And it's 10 what? We're talking about x is the number of weeks, so it's 10 weeks. So when we're looking at these word problems, we want to identify key information by reading very carefully. You might need to reread the question more than once, and that's totally fine. Define our variable by saying let x equal whatever we're talking about. You can use different letters. Just be careful with that they don't look like numbers. But we do want to always make sure that we're defining our variable with our let statement. And then we can set up our equation based on that ax plus b equals c formatting. Once we're ready to solve, we're going to solve by undoing the constant by adding or subtracting first, and then undoing the coefficient by multiplying or dividing, like we saw with our two-step equations. All right, thanks for watching.